Villain.
Yes, because today we are going to talk about tips to craft an awesome villain. We were talking about that last week in my mastermind with my science fiction and fantasy writers, where I help them take their rough draft and polish it up for publication. It's what I love to do. And I just want to welcome folks coming in. Hello, Bart. Hello, Phyllis. Hello, Amy. Hello, Lori. You're welcome to post into the chat what you're working on. Any questions that pop up as we go, you're welcome to do the exercises as we go. I have 3 points I'm going to walk Gala through to help her brainstorm her villain.
Excited. I cannot tell you. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Hi, Phyllis. So great to see you. Phyllis is part of our edit lab. We have a monthly live edit lab. Very awesome place. I also release premium audios just for the Edit Lab, which is officially called Edit Your Future Sci-Fi Fantasy Revision Lab. That's $5 a month right now until the end of June. So we're still in founder's price right now, and that'll lock you in. Then the price is going up to $40 a month because, y'all, I have been doing this 20 years. I'm going to charge what I am worth. And I have edited hundreds and hundreds of manuscripts, but it all starts with the brainstorming process. Although I have to share, I am pantsing a novel, like for the very first time. It's like novel number 17. It's a romantasy, I think, but it's really right now mostly romantic adventure, fantasy adventure in a made-up world with lots of magic. It's so fun. And Phyllis says a great point. And this is why we're digging into the villain today. Phyllis says, looking forward, since I always seem to overlook what the antagonist is doing before the big climax, for sure. So let's spend some time. We have 30 minutes together. Let's dive in. So, Gala, the first thing is we're going to talk about goal. Oh, and before the call, I just want to we're woo-woo over here. We just did like a 4-minute grounding meditation before this call. So because being creative, we've got a lot going on, and we're used to being in our creative cave, right? And then when we come out into the world, it can be a lot. So encouragement for meditation, for deep breathing exercises, whatever you need to do that helps you come back to center. And so it was really fun. It was really so helpful.
Oh, necessary. Thank you so much. Yeah.
And way back in my 20s, y'all, I studied at the Berkeley Psychic Institute. I learned grounding. I learned clairvoyance. Although we all have these things, I just learned how to sharpen those skills. So, villain. I have to admit, me too, when I wrote my first novel, Henrietta the Dragon Slayer, which was actually my third novel I had been writing, but the first novel I published, writing the villain was very daunting. And it took me, by the second book, I got a little better. By the third book, I was like, I got it. I can now step into my villain. It was very scary, stepping into my villain and owning it. So, because here's what I like to say, kind of silly, but our villains are people too. And they do not think of themselves as a villain. In their mind, their goal, so we're going to talk about goal, motivation, and conflict. Their goal is reasonable to them. So we want a goal that is specific, that is active. Sound familiar, right? This is what we want for our protagonist. Our villain is not trying to be evil. They're just trying to go after something, and they can justify it in their mind. So let's see. I'm going to challenge you, and Gala, if you can share with us, and those of you listening live or in the replay, do this too. Write your villain's goal as a concrete phrase, verb phrase, like to seize, to protect, to punish, to expose, to restore, control, purify, stabilize, and see if you can make it time-bound or urgent. So time-bound or urgent, and this will create plot pressure, both for your villain and for your antagonist. By the way, another name for villain protagonist is antagonist, because not all villains are people in the human sense, right? They could be forces of nature, they could be technology, they could be what do we got? We got tech, we got nature, we got self,
government, stuff like that too. Like
say that again.
Like a government or
a government, right? Those are people, though, because there's going to be someone behind those machinations. And let's see, I want to welcome Robert, who's writing a YA historical time travel adventure series. Woo-hoo-hoo, I love that. The main antagonist is mirror/shadow to the protagonist. Similar background with different choices. Awesome. So, Gala, here's the prompt. See if you can state your villain what they want by X method for before a certain deadline, because what are the consequences?
And I think this is partially where I'm not 100% sure about the villain. So he definitely wants to protect the status quo. So he is in the 1% elite, which are vampires who are in control of all magic throughout the world. So he definitely wants to maintain the status quo, that he specifically, his family specifically, in general, vampires remain to be in the ones who hold all the magic and who distribute it as they see fit. But there's also an underlying thing where there actually are they've depleted most of their resources, and then they find out that there is this other new source that is owned not by them. So there is the seize. They also want to seize, but they want to seize this new source so that they can maintain the status quo and protect their whatever conglomerate, and so it can stay as it is. And I didn't think about putting a time limit on that. I feel like that's a good point, because I was putting the time limit on sort of my main protagonist and how she by when she needs to get a bunch of money. So I wonder if I need to add maybe once a certain number of years, they have some kind of a council where they have to elect the new ruler of vampires, and then if he shows weakness by then, or he shows that he can't control, they might go and select somebody from a rival family, and he doesn't want to for that to happen. That's why he's acting right now. This is coming up right. I'm just this is the right now thought.
Right now, that's great. Perfect.
Force it. Yeah. So that's because otherwise he's going to be out of power. He and his family, his generations, whatever legacy is going to be out of power.
That's great. So that's time bound, right? It's not necessarily urgent in the short term, but there's a time limit. So you said protect, and you said seize. Which one is going to push your story forward?
The seize is why he starts acting right now. The protect is basically the core thing. For him to protect his legacy, he has to go and seize this new source of magic for himself.
Okay, great. So now I think you can do a draft of the sentence. My villain wants to X before deadline, because otherwise, consequence. So y'all listening in Substack Live land, you're welcome to try this with your own villain as well. An example could be, and I'm pulling this out of the story that I'm working on right now. My villain wants, all the magic, wants to harness or all the chaos magic before everybody else discovers what's happening, because otherwise she will lose control. She will lose power. She will lose face. She will lose power. And she'll be no longer the secret power behind the magical, the way magic is used in this realm. I don't know. I just made that up because I'm just getting to know my villain as well. And I just want to say welcome to John. Everyone here, you're welcome to play along. Use the prompt in the chat, which is my villain wants to X. I should say X goal by method before deadline, because otherwise consequence. So I could have written that a little better, but yeah. What do you have, Gala? You have something for me?
My villain wants to seize the new source of magic before the Vampire Council, because otherwise he'll lose control. He'll lose his position as, I don't know.
Yeah, and his family will lose their resources, right? Because if he doesn't replenish, if he doesn't seize the power, the magic, then his family is going to be diminished completely. like lose
Mhm.
all the power. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Good. So let me see if I can write this sentence a little better. So my villain wants goal. It's hard to top and type. My villain wants goal by method before deadline, because otherwise consequence. So let's write the word consequence. And the consequence has to hurt, right? The consequence has to bite really badly, do damage to something very important
Mhm.
to your good. So
I was just watching the other Bennett sister, and it's um, the inheritance is based on the male heir, and then they once the father died, they get kicked out. So I wonder, and that she also loses her home. So I wonder if I can also connect somewhere where it's kind of like White House, right? They've lived there, and they feel like this is their land and whatever. But if he loses, he'll actually have to like leave the premises and things. That could also be a very nice physical manifestation of his loss. That is not just kind of a big one.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's great. It feels concrete. It feels active. You've got a deadline in there, and it feels like the consequence is very very important. So yeah, make the consequence of loss for your villain personal. This is also a way to develop rapport for the reader to go, oh yeah, who would want to lose their home, their physical home? No one wants to be kicked out of their home, even if they're people you want to hate and shake your hand at, and you're naughty, you're bad,
Yeah.
but everyone can relate to the feeling of, oh no, I could lose my home. So that's
Yeah.
how you make your villain relatable.
And it also, I think, will play nicely with my protagonist, because my protagonist at the beginning is homeless, and then she moves into this inherited cabin that after her, because her grandmother dies, and that's basically where all of the magic is happening. So to her, this is kind of like a newfound home. So I think she will also be understanding of what it will feel like not having a home. So I think that could be a nice thematic, having a home, not having a home, what is a home underneath. So I can feel that could be a good echo too.
Yeah, that's so great. And Phyllis says that she loves the other Bennett sister. So fun. I haven't seen it yet. Let's move to motivation. Remember, all of our characters, they need a goal, but they also need a why. Why is that so important to them? What will having that do for them? What is the deeper motivation? Because every motivation usually stems from some belief. A lot of people also call it or a wound, meaning the way we were wounded, and then that actually shapes our beliefs. So to me, it's all belief. Because your villain doesn't wake up thinking, I'm the bad guy. They believe they're right. They believe they're justified. Their motivation is their own emotional engine underneath going for the goal. It could be fear or grief, entitlement. I had a villain who, in my YA fantasy series, it's very much driven by entitlement. And it was very true. His throne was stolen by his sister. So everything gets driven by hey, that should have been mine.
Mhm.
Ideology, revenge, shame. Parents or people in power will shame others to control them. Love, devotion, hunger for order. I was watching CSI Las Vegas, the reboot, and the villain is driven by love of his sister who has an illness. And I'm like, wow, that's powerful, right? We want to take care of our family, and then he's driven to do all these horrible things because of that. Or there's a hunger for order. I thought, oh yeah, things need to be in order. So here's the assignment. Articulate the villain's core belief as a sentence that they would verbally say in public. I'm doing this because, if you can write it convincingly, then readers will also feel the villain's logic, even if they disagree. But if they feel the conviction, they will move forward. And all right, so here is the sentence. My villain believes, I'm just going to put X. They learned it when, some time period. It could be childhood. It could be something really important that happened to them as a young adult. It could be something that happened to them recently. So they must action. There we go. So here it is. My villain believes blah, blah, blah. They learned it when sometime in the past. So now they must take a certain action. What do you got, Gala?
Ooh, this is difficult. I feel like difficult. This is making me think. So I in my mind, when I was creating this villain, I definitely was thinking Star Wars and like I am your father. Look, kind of a reveal where we find out that the villain is the father of the protagonist. Spoiler alert.
Mhm.
Um, but in my mind, I always thought that he knew that she existed, but like he basically cast her out of his area of influence because he wanted to protect her because she was different and in their society, like she's a demon, and in their society, vampires kill demons. Like there's genocide going on. So if you know a demon, then you basically kill them. So because this is his child, he kind of like hid her so that nobody knows. So he did that to protect her, right? And now basically they kind of come head to head because now she has the source of power and he wants that source of power to maintain his status quo, I guess, to not be kicked off. So I don't really know what he would say publicly because I feel like that's like a very shameful hidden secret that he never tells anybody, that
Right.
he has a demon child that he
Okay.
as the president of vampires is not allowed to have, and then he did
Right.
all of this uh shady stuff to hide her, and if anybody finds out, that will definitely dethrone him. Like they're not going to keep him on the throne for sure. So I'm not sure
Yes.
how to write this sentence
Okay. I have an idea. So he did he fall in love with someone who was a
yeah.
demon, and that's why he has a demon child?
Some other, yeah. So demons in this world are not a genetic mutation. So any species can have a demon as a child, um, but it's a long story. So yes, he fell in love with her mother, and then when the child was born, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so the belief to me could be this. It could be that, you know, demons, vampires and demons are sworn enemies. That's the belief, right?
Mhm.
Vampires and demons are sworn enemies. And there might even be a moment in his life, maybe very young, where he had that rudely thrust upon him, right? Like is it genetic or is it like a belief that they teach all their children? So he might have had a rude awakening as a young person that, oh, absolutely not. Do not know that person is not your friend, or that, the demon, you must kill them, even if he might have had maybe interest in connecting. So
Mhm.
it's like, when did he learn that vampires and demons were sworn enemies,
That,
and how,
that's
you know,
their history. So this is basically like demons were used by vampires to extract magic before, and then once the technology to do it without them, it caught up, and they could do it technologically without using the demon's blood to produce the like that kind of magic. Then basically demons became competition because now they can go and do this, and the vampires wanted everybody to buy magic only from them, so they just started systematically killing all of the demons, because if only vampires can extract magic, then they can be the only ones selling it. So
so that's
that's a
okay.
known thing in vampires. I do not know if I'm making this too complicated.
No, no, what you're talking about is kind of like the encyclopedic entry. What I want to know
Yeah.
is from the villain himself, where did he learn this? Because there's the zeitgeist, there's the common cultural think, but then we as individuals, maybe he never questioned the belief. Maybe it's never been challenged.
Yeah, I
Maybe,
could definitely see myself like writing a backstory scene of the wounds, something where like he is sitting with his father on the throne, and they bring like this demon that they caught, or like a demon, several of them, and they like, behead them, or whichever way they kill them. And they're like, if you meet a demon, this is what you do. This is what you always do. So he can have definitely like that visceral memory of, we killed them, like in
right.
front of everybody. All the vampires are there, everybody is watching, because that's what you do.
Mhm.
You have a demon, you kill them, and maybe torture them. I do not know, but like do something gruesome. So
Right.
does
Right.
that help? Does that
That
kind of,
narrows, that narrows it down, and it's specific. So basically, the father is antagonist to the daughter, the hero, and so you've also got a secret baby trope that's probably going to end tragically, right? I was just reading.
About that, but now you're
Yeah,
saying that.
well,
Ooh.
let's do a thank you to Jennifer Hilt, who writes the Trope Thesaurus series. And I was
Yeah,
reading the opening of her Trope Thesaurus. You probably have it right at
I
handy.
have it. I have it
All
somewhere.
my
Yeah.
writing books over there. And she was talking about how the Golden Compass has a secondary plot of, yeah, in the intro, she talks about how her fascination with tropes came through her interest in the Golden Compass and reading the books and watching the films. And I've done both. And how the secret baby trope, it's also father-daughter secret is a secondary plot. So that might help you to think through this, because um, uh,
Yeah.
your protagonist is driven by power. And why are they driven by power is kind of where I would, uh, uh, dive deeper. And then maybe it could also be that when he learns that his daughter is a demon, he has to reject her. Otherwise, he knows he will have to kill her. But also that, like, why didn't he kill her? Is that the shame? So there's a lot to unravel here. Anybody's in Gala's position, I would encourage you to ask yourself, well, why did they do that? And what did that,
Because he loved his mother, her mother, and he knew that, killing the baby is going to be devastating to her, and he didn't want to do that to her, and all of that
okay.
kind of stuff.
So he believed at that moment, love was more powerful than the rules of his culture. And so he might now, in the present of your story, consider that a weakness.
Yeah.
And Phyllis says, this really goes to developing a backstory for the villain that helps the reader understand, even though they are still repulsed. Yes. So if you can get into his almost like secret heart, that moment of weakness where he doesn't kill his daughter because he loves the mother, and then years later, present time in your story, if your antagonist is there looking at the daughter, or knowing that the daughter is now in front of his goal for power, oh my God, the complicated emotions in that person, right? Like, am I going to choose power over my daughter? Even though I don't know what he feels for his daughter, does he still have love for the mother? Like once in a lifetime love, that you can't betray. So you're also dealing with betrayal.
He definitely feels the once in a lifetime kind of, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So it's complicated, and that's good. Complicated is good because that feels human, right? We all have competing internal motivations and for our goals, right? And we all juggling that. So if you can explore it, and maybe it's not something that he would say privately, but maybe he would. Like, if you put him in confrontation with someone, why are you going after your daughter? If someone finds out, why are you going after your daughter? Well, this is why. And he can even have complex emotions behind that, competing internal conflicts about that. Let's move to the conflict. Because you've already set up this fabulous conflict where, as someone said in the chat today, there's a mirror action going on where the villain's conflict is clashing directly with what they want is in direct opposition to what the protagonist wants. So there's a specific thing, obviously, that is blocking your antagonist from getting what they want. That's our conflict. It could be what the protagonist stands for, what the protagonist does. Just the very existence of the protagonist in your story is causing conflict for your villain. And also, as you've already shown us, a strong villain will have internal conflicts, blind spots, contradictions, the stories they tell themselves, the of two hearts. It almost sounds like there's, the allegiance to the vampire clan and the allegiance to the love of, his daughter's mother. So it's beautiful. And you want to be sure that your villain's strengths is a direct pressure, obviously, on the protagonist's weakness and vice versa. And then it's great if you add some kind of internal in my notes, I have it here as fault line. Like they have a crack in their internal belief system that will kind of make their tragic ending inevitable when you look backwards. And that's usually, like in your case, it could be clan loyalty over personal loyalty, or clan loyalty above all, right? The group versus the individual. The clan must survive, even if what
It's kind of like the tram paradox, right? Are you killing this one person, or are you killing those, 5 people? Is this one person is your daughter, but those 5 people are like the members of your clan? Like, who do you save? Where does your allegiance lie? What's more important? Because at this point, it basically will be like, if he doesn't do something with his daughter, then it's going to affect a lot of vampires. And
actually, I'm trying to write here, and I said, actually, when I was writing the word action. So here's the prompt. So the hero blocks the villain. So this is a prompt around conflict because of the hero's actions, but also maybe the villain's internal experience. Oh no, the first sentence is the hero blocks the villain because of the values that the protagonist holds, the hero holds, and whatever action they're taking. And the villain can't ultimately adapt because of the blind spot. We just explained that, the trolley problem, or the clan versus the individual. And so the villain will escalate by XYZ action to make things worse. Tighten the screws, so to speak.
Because I know at the beginning he's going to come and he's basically going to try to just like, okay, let's solve this nicely. I buy the land, you sell me the land, you get the money because the money is what you need, and I will, because she's like in dire need of money, and I will have the land. Everybody's happy. And basically in his mind, she doesn't know it at that point. He's like, nobody's going to know who she is. She can go and live her life. But in the meantime, while she was living there, she discovers that like she has her whole matrilineal witch lineage, and she's in charge of protecting the land. And like basically everybody on that side, on the protagonist, are telling her, no, you need to protect. She's like, whatever, I don't care about it. I'm just going to sell it and buy the money. So she kind of has to make that decision. Is money more important to her versus protecting the lineage? Well, he is like, is protecting the lineage more important than the one person that I love? So there's a lot of whatever coming together. But so I feel like I know that was the first action, but I don't necessarily know the escalation of actions. So I'm going to have to think about that. Like, what is he going to be pushing her into? Because I think at the beginning, he's going to still try to like maybe present her with solutions that will protect her, not make her die. But at some point, he's going to have to nix that and say, okay, I tried. I can't.
What if, what if he's receiving pressure from another quarter, like his own people?
Yeah.
What if there's others? And usually when I'm trying to figure out fears, so because I'm an organic writer and very intuitive, emotionally focused, I usually dive deep into my character's fears to discover how to escalate. So I would ask you for your villain, what are they truly afraid of? And what's worse than that? Like at the beginning, the stakes are not that high, trying to buy the property. But what in the back of his mind in that moment, what is he afraid of? And then what's worse than that? What's worse than that? What's worse than that? Keep escalating until we find all the things that are worse and worse and worse that put him into a more and more difficult situation.
I do not have the answer right now. I'm going to have to think about it. I feel like in the end of ends, it's probably going to be he's afraid of dying, or like dying without a legacy or something. But I think I'm going to have to just like sit down and go through that exercise for sure. The other thing that I really like that I'm going to also have to think about is villain strength versus protagonist weakness. So the only two thoughts that I had, which I'm not sure I'm not on the right track, where he has the knowledge. So he actually has the knowledge of the lore of what actually happened and why are the vampires in control of the magic. So he knows all of that stuff. And he has the resources. So he has kind of like money and power and all of that, and she doesn't have any of that. But I feel like I need to dig deeper there. Like, I'm not sure that's exactly what you're asking about.
Yeah, I mean, someone like him, if he's the president, he's got to deal with reputation. He's got to deal with the factions probably going on. He's got to deal with I don't know, a third party competing. Are there other magical factions? He's got to deal with what happens if he cannot convince his daughter to sell the land. What then? Like he may not even want to think about what then. You know, at some point, it's a problem going against his daughter also, right? Like he might have emotional, psychological, moral, maybe not moral, I don't know, reasons for not wanting to escalate. Maybe it's someone else who says, you have to escalate. And he's like, I don't want to, right?
He's definitely going to dawdle at the beginning, and he's going to try to find peaceful ways. But at some point, yeah, like, is it he who's going to say, no, toughen up, you have to do this, or is it somebody else who's going to push him to do it? I kind of want him to do it, because I always am for like the agency, like if somebody else sort of pushes him into it. But then it's going to be, I think another question is, do I want to redeem him at the end or not?
Yeah, it could be really beautiful if you redeem him. It's very tragic if you don't, because it goes to the root of our sense of family, right? And so something I would explore, and I invite all of you to do this, and then we're going to wrap up, is what are your antagonists' thoughts and feelings and values really about their family and about family in general? And something to consider is, do these values relate only to them and theirs, or to all, right? It's my values for me. Who cares about you? You know, this is what's important to me. You know, it's a very tribal mentality, but it maybe is. And because of the survival of our people, you know, it feels like you're playing with that tribal mentality, you know, us versus them. And that's the way it is. Yeah. And so there's a lot of beliefs that underpin that. But then here he is, someone who was challenged when she was born, the daughter, right? Oh, she's a demon. Oh, but I love the mother. Oh, but we, right? So from that moment, he probably had his value system starting to tear, starting to rupture, starting to question, starting to fraction, creating a lot of internal something. That's got to be hard. That's got to be like a wound that he's carrying. That could be
pushed the mother away too, to protect her, right? So like, even though it's the woman he loves, he's like, okay, this is going to be safer for you to not be with me, as I do this thing that I must do.
Right. And so that creates an internal black hole, essentially. Like people who do that walk around kind of walking wounded in a very strong way, you know, unless it gets resolved somehow. But it's cool if it in your story, it's not yet resolved. So when we meet your villain, that's also where we can have empathy, that it's sad to give up your child to save them and to be separated from them. Like, oh my God, that's horrible, you know, but it's also a very heroic thing to do. Like, go away, be safe, separate from me. That's actually a heroic move, because it's saying, I want to keep you safe and alive. So, you know, in his mind, he did the right thing.
Yeah.
To protect them. So I hope this gave you a lot of fodder to play with.
Yes.
Great. Woohoo! Look at all the Post-its. Do y'all have Post-its? Do you have notes? This replay will be up soon. We'll be putting notes from the lesson and those prompts. And also just another plug for my Edit Lab, the Edit the Future Sci-Fi Fantasy Revision Lab. You can join this month for $5 per month, and that price gets locked in. For as long as I have my revision lab, you come once a month. Phyllis has come, get your material looked at. Gala has come, and we will help you make your manuscript better, shorten the pathway to getting your manuscript edited, which is what we do around here and have a lot of fun doing. And if you're first time here and you want to learn more, check out my Edit Your Novel Checklist at edityournovelchecklist.com, and jump on in there and get editing and join the lab if you want some more support. And you're so welcome, Phyllis. I'm so glad that we gave you lots to mull over in your antagonist story. The stronger and more interesting and complex that we make our antagonist, the more interesting your story, the more memorable your story. When you give like a really amazing conflict between protagonist and the antagonist, like, you know, Luke and Darth Vader, right? Like that was
that's where the idea came to me. Like that was, I was like rewatching that, and I'm like, ooh, what if that's like a father and daughter situation and they are
Mhm.
on opposing sides? I'm like, ooh, that could be good. I always have father issues just because of like what happened to me in my life. So I think I'm always drawn to this father-child conflict, and especially when you can make these grand things in the fantasy world, like the stakes are so much higher, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Great. And Gala teaches writers, does publishing strategy. Check out her Substack at Gala Russ Author and Writing Conversations. I know you've got some great classes coming up, happening, all that good stuff, right?
Yeah, I just put the galleros.com/write your novel. That's where I have whatever classes that are coming up right now. I just started a summer edition course on Saturday, which was so fun, with more of writing accountability. And then on the 18th, it's going to be at 7 p.m. Pacific. So it's kind of late for East Coasters or European people, but that's going to be a deep dive course. So that's one is a very craft focused. So a lot more what we did today, basically, like taking craft concepts, applying them to your story and kind of digging deep into that. I have still a couple of spots left there. It's mostly full, but if you're interested in it, I have a freebie, write your novel checklist. You can go take it and like think about if you're not writing, or if you're writing, or if you're stuck, why, and try to identify any kind of blocks and how to remove them. So lots of fun stuff.
Lots
And
of fun stuff. And it's a Thursday night.
Monday too. So
Yep.
come back next Monday.
Come back next Monday. We're going to talk about another writing tip. If you have requests, let us know. I have no idea what we're going to do. We might, I don't know.
Take requests. So if you do have a topic, you're like, oh, I'm struggling with this in my novel, please comment or message us. And we'd love taking requests and talking about this. I have one idea because I had a comment on my Instagram. So if we don't get any requests, we might do that one.
Okay. And it's going to be a surprise. So
yeah, but I think we'll figure it out. It's gonna be
we'll figure it out. Do subscribe so you can be notified. We're happy to have you here. Happy writing, everyone. Please go write, edit, have fun with it. And we're both here for you as resources. So have a great rest of your day, and ciao for now. Bye.
Bye.